Hey there, YouTubes. Chris Holman here with Kellie PB Fam. Thanks for tuning in. I do have to tell you that what we're going to be going over today, there is, it's going to be some adult, mature content. So this live stream is on age restriction. So Kellie, first of all, if you haven't, Kellie's got her own channel. If you get a chance, Kellie PB Fam, go check it out. She's got some pretty good content. So Kellie, would you like, if you would please, if you would just tell our viewers what we're looking at here. Kellie, there's an echo, and I don't think it's coming from me.
I know. I gotta mute it. Hold on. That's okay. Hold on. Using a new item. I gotta mute it. Hold on. Okay. How's that sound?
Okay. I'm not hearing an echo now.
Using a new item.
Gosh, darn it, Kellie.
How's that sound?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that.
Hold on.
Yep. I got myself muted.
I think that echo was me that time, actually. All right, so we got Devona and Maya. Thanks for tuning in. So tonight, we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be going over this child trafficking, the policies, immigration policies. We're going to be talking about the foster care to sex trafficking channel, how kids are going from foster care into child sex trafficking. It's pretty heartbreaking. And of course, we're going to be going over a little bit with VOP, the Veterans on Patrol down in Arizona, on what they're doing down there. But that's such a small portion. We're gonna spread it out tonight. We're gonna talk about some. We're gonna talk about this more on a national and global scale.
Yes.
So Kellie, if you would. If you would take a chance to, or take the opportunity here, if you could just kind of go over what we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, I've been doing a lot of research, so I have a pile of stuff here, and I'm not exactly sure what all Chris has got up here, but I sent him a bunch of stuff. And this is probably going to be an ongoing little series covering some of this. But today like he had spoken, we are going to be talking about child trafficking and how the foster care system can be intertwined into this. Chris knows an awful lot about the foster care because he was in foster care. I myself have been we foster children.
Mm-hmm.
So, in regards to the foster care system and how it works. I do have a storm. I do apologize if you hear a bunch of rain. Mm-hmm. We have a massive storm right now. So if you happen to lose me, I do apologize. I will be back as soon as I can get back.
Anyone tuning in for the first time, this is not our first live stream on this. We've covered this before. A little bit about myself. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran, infantry. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic.
Amen.
I love God. I love my country. I'm not a racist or a white nationalist. I love all people. If you have to put a label on me, I guess a civic nationalist, I guess, what previously had been known as an American. So I didn't change. Everybody else has changed.
That's right.
So Kellie, if you could just give a just a real quick, just a little introduction to yourself for anybody just now tuning in.
Well, I'm a former old school homeschooler. I taught 3 of my children. Whoa. I do apologize for all this noise. And I have a farm. We have farm animals, and we are building it up. And my channel basically is instead of calling it an eclectic, it is an eclectic. It is from A to Z. So basically, I cover everything in regards to that. And right now, the news is a big thing that is not being covered, and I'm glad that Chris has asked me to come in and help him, because I have been researching for years a lot of stuff that has gone on.
Right.
So thank you, Chris.
Well, thanks for coming on. So the first thing we're going to look at here is we're going to look at statistics on human trafficking here. The link in the description for this webpage, that's where you'll find it. As I scroll down here, there was the statistics here I wanted to look at. So in 2012, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime reports the percentage of child victims had risen in a 3-year span from 20% to 27%. Of every 3 child victims, 2 are girls and 1 is boy. Gender and age profile of victims detected globally: 59% women, 14% men, 17% girls, and 10% were boys. 600,000 to 800,000 women, children, and men bought and sold across international borders every year and exploited for forced labor or commercial sex. When internal trafficking victims are added to the estimates, the number of victims annually is in the range of 2 to 4 million people. If that doesn't anger you, you're dead inside.
And that's not even really the true number.
And it's 50% of those victims are estimated to be children. I would guess that percentage is actually much higher. It is estimated that 76% of transactions for sex with underage girls start on the internet.
Exactly.
2 million children are subjected to prostitution in the global commercial sex trade. There are 20.9 million victims of trafficking worldwide as of 2012.
And that's the low count.
1.5 million victims just in the United States alone. Human trafficking has surpassed the illegal sale of arms. Trafficking will surpass the illegal sale of drugs in the next few years. Drugs may have already done so. Drugs are used once and they are gone. Victims of child trafficking can be used and abused over and over. A $32 billion a year industry. Think about this. Human trafficking is on the rise and is in all 50 states, according to the U.S. government. 4.5 million of trafficked persons are sexually exploited. Up to 300,000 Americans under 18 are lured into the commercial sex trade every year. From 14,500 to 17,500 of those victims are trafficked into the United States each year. Now, that last statistic has direct correlation or direct relation to what's going on with Veterans on Patrol down in Arizona. You have these cartels down in Mexico that are facilitating the travel and into the United States, and in the process they are victimizing women and children. Some of these children are brought in by traffickers themselves, posing as their parents, right? So you see in the news where people they're talking about, children being separated from their parents, right? Well, that isn't actually 100% true. So yes, children are being separated, but not all children are separated from their parents. Only those, as has been reported, only those that have been brought into the country by adults who are not their parents, or who are brought in by parents and it is determined that they are in an unsafe situation. These children, the pictures you see that the left-wing media plastered children in cages, that was from 2014. The kids being separated now, they live better than I do. They have pool tables, foosball tables, flat screen television. They're being given an education with teachers, plush leather couches. I've seen a picture of it. Like, they live better than I do. They're not suffering. Now, here's the thing. So we see that these kids we're talking about end up in foster care, right? So just because they've been brought across the border and they were apprehended doesn't mean they're safe. Because there is a foster care connection to human trafficking. A foster care, whether these are children who have been, say, they aged out, right? Or they were runaways. Now, there are some really amazing foster parents out there. My foster parents, when I was a kid, were amazing, right? I lived my sophomore year in high school. I was placed in foster care. My junior year, I went to live with my grandparents, but legally speaking, they were my foster parents. And then my senior year, I went to live with my dad. And so I was very fortunate in my experience in foster care. But not all foster parents are good people. Many of them are in it because they get paid by the state. They get paid a certain amount. I don't exactly know how much they get paid, but I'm to understand it actually is pretty good. They get paid per child that is placed with them. Those same types of individuals could also likely, now this is speculation on my part, but it would be very easy for those types of people to then sell a child to sex traffickers, excuse me, that had been placed with them, and then later report them as a runaway sometime the next morning, giving those sex traffickers time to move that child out of state before the child is reported as a runaway. Now, as a runaway, they're going to be looking in the local area, but that child would already be out of state. But you also have homeless children, right?
Exactly.
They're forced into selling themselves just to survive, and they are easy targets for child traffickers. So these children that are being trafficked, they're not just illegal immigrant children coming in, but American children at the tune of $300,000 a year. I want you to think about that. $300,000. In a past live stream, I didn't have this figure, and I had mentioned that there are hundreds of thousands of Americans that go missing every year, just drop off the face of the earth, go missing. And I said that it is highly likely that a vast number of those are children and women disappearing into sex trafficking. And here we have the statistic right here. 300,000 is the estimate.
I feel that that's quite low.
And now the human trafficking research, what I'm looking at, what you see on your screen, posted by Lisa Kane Hartnett in 2018, January 2018. The link in the description to this page is also you'll find it in the description. But also, now we're not really going to go over this, but it is a pamphlet, and the link, you will find it on this page, but you will also find the link in the description. This is the Foster Care and Human Trafficking, a state-by-state evaluation. And you can look up, look through this, look at all this information, and you can also look to see how it relates to your state, whatever state of the United States that you may be in. If you're outside of the United States, in Europe, there is a huge amount of human trafficking coming out of Eastern Europe, the Ukraine, Russia, those areas, a huge amount of sex trafficking going there. We come over here to blacklistednews.com. I'm not entirely sure if I may or may not have put the link in the description. If I haven't, I will in just a moment. This is a report from December 29th, 2016, after the election, before the inauguration. So this was a year and a half ago. Homeland border employees took millions in bribes to allow massive secret influx of illegal drugs and immigrants into the United States. This is something that has been going on for a very, very, very long time. Kellie, you remember, we talked about this earlier. There was a movie, I think it was a made-for-TV movie, maybe it was a miniseries, I can't quite remember, but it came out in the early, mid-2000s and was all about human trafficking.
I believe it was 2004 when it came out.
It may have been. Like, it blew up. Like, that's when I first heard about human trafficking, was from watching this. And this was, if I remember right, it was based on a true story, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So this woman in the story, she goes undercover and gets herself to be trafficked. And she ends up, in the end, I guess, getting a bunch of these women and girls, rescued. It may not have been a take by take of a true story. It may have been inspired by a true story. Either way, the entire purpose of that was to bring to people's attention human trafficking. Also from here, this is from June 12th, 2018. So this is very recent. Chilling NCMEC report shows 88% of missing sex trafficked kids come from U.S. foster care. 88%.
Can you imagine 88%? That's an astronomical percentage.
So, according to their most recent report compiled from FBI data and their own, of the nearly 25,000 runaways reported to NCMEC in 2017, 1 in 7 were likely victims of child sex trafficking. Of those, 88% were in the care of social services when they went missing. Every state's child protective services, there needs to, across this country needs to be audited. Every single foster parent that this happened under their watch needs to be investigated. We're talking about our children. These are children who are already in foster care because maybe they were abused, maybe they were molested already prior to this, right? They may have been abandoned. I mean, for whatever reason, they're in foster care. They're already traumatized. And then to have this kind of horror put upon them, and I'm telling you, my gut tells me that many of these foster parents are responsible. They sold them. That's what my gut tells me. I'm not saying that this is exactly the case. I'm saying this is what my gut tells me. And we may find out later, and if we do, it'll be in another stream, that whether or not that is in fact the case. If it comes out that it is, you'll hear it in a future stream. You most definitely will.
Yes.
So this child trafficking, child sex trafficking, that this topic has come up thanks to Veterans on Patrol down in Arizona, where they've been following these coyotes down there. So of course, this takes place during this huge debate over the immigration policies, right? So what we currently have right now is incentives, right? If they can get across the border and get into a sanctuary city, they're likely to, so long as they don't move out of that sanctuary city, they're likely to never get deported, right? There is welfare, food stamps, WIC. If they have a child in the United States, then that child is an American citizen. I mean, there's all these incentives once they get here. I mean, under U.S. law, an illegal alien is not permitted to rent or buy or gain employment, and they're legally not supposed to be entitled to any welfare.
And the Obamacare gave it to them.
Right. I mean, California recently, I think this was last month, announced that they were going to offer free healthcare for illegal aliens in California. Are you kidding me? You see how much California has just fallen apart, and they're going to do this?
It looks like a slum state. I mean,
it is.
It's terrible. It looks like a third world country.
Though it has the 6th largest economy in the world, it is the poorest state in the country. It has the lowest standard of living. Yeah, like 1 in 5 are below the poverty line. It has the largest homeless population. Yeah. I just saw earlier today, now this is in California, it's Seattle. I believe it was Seattle. They are proposing paying for the drug habit of heroin addicts in their city. I believe that was Seattle. It may have been San Francisco, but I'm pretty sure it was Seattle. They're trying to destroy their own cities and states. I have to think they can't be that stupid. Like they just cannot be that.
Well, they wanted to become their own. They wanted to pull away from the United States. Look at what and then they turn themselves into a sanctuary state, and then they have sanctuary cities, and then they didn't even want the wall put up, and you could see the influx of immigrants coming through.
Yeah.
As we had talked earlier, that influx is coming through. There's no border up.
Right.
Why don't they have, which we do have a system set up for vetting, but not only that, have a sanctuary vetting that occurs.
Mm-hmm.
These people that are asking for sanctuary because there's abuse or, they're being threatened in some way by the cartel, they're being pushed into something that they don't want to be in, and they're able to get away. Why can we not help them?
Yeah.
In that aspect? Now, not just anybody that wants to come through, but if they need that help, yes.
Right.
But those ones that are coming across the border and the way they're using them,
mm-hmm.
and Chris, I sent you that map picture
mm-hmm.
that shows how bad our country actually is.
Right.
I don't know if you have that handy or not.
We're gonna pull that up here in just a little bit. So one thing I failed to do at the very beginning, I'm gonna go ahead and read it now. So there is a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So I give that because we're going to start getting into a few videos here, and we're going to break these down. So let's go ahead and show this. The VOP account. This was from 2 days ago. This is from Matrix Adjustment. They've been uploading the VOP videos. So let's go ahead and get this started.
Has led up. We survived, as you can see. It's real money. They got the tarps and everything down. They're going down. We have the Aussies are out right now. There's a school teacher that came down.
So Kellie, yeah, you were this is what you were talking about. You were telling me they had some Australians come to help out.
Yes. I did not bring my tablet out. One's name is I don't know if they'll have their name on there. It's not on this video. I know that. One is Daryl, and the other one begins with I think it's Nick. It is Nick. Yeah, okay. Daryl and Nick. Okay. One's going to be there for 10 days, and the other one's going to be there for 2 weeks.
So looking at this map, I'm sure he's going to explain it here in a moment, but you see these arrows. Was that the corridors, or is that where their searches have been?
That's where their searches have been. Now, you see that great big pink area? They can't go into that area, and especially down where you have your mouse at, down in the lower part near the timestamp area.
Yeah.
To your left.
Mm-hmm.
There is an Indian reservation right there.
Yeah, that's yeah. There's huge Indian reservations in Arizona. I remember. I used to live there.
And they're actually helping them, and not only that, but there are some ranchers out there that are actually giving water supplies to these coyotes.
Well, they may not have a choice.
They're doing it because, well, one of two things. They may not have a choice, but the other thing is they do have a choice. They're making some money because they're not getting enough money from what they're doing in the farming industry because of what the Clintons, the Bushes, and what Obama has done.
Not always, and we can look this up. Like, for instance, in Texas, right? The ranchers that are right on the border, they're battling with people coming across the border on their land, and if they put up any kind of resistance, I mean, they can them and their families. I mean, and these cartels, I mean, they've got a far reach. They can find out where their extended family, where they work, where their kids or grandkids go to school. I mean,
I have people telling me right now, I'm going to let you know, Chris, right now, I have people telling me right now that the stuff that I'm covering, that we need to be masking ourselves because they're going to find where we're at. And I'm like, you know what? Come right, they want to step on our soil. They want to sit there and do something.
Yeah.
Come right ahead. Come on. I'm not, you know what? My life is right with God, and I love the Lord. And I will tell you right now, nobody's going to take this land, and nobody's going to abuse a child on this land or any land around me.
Well, I ain't scared. Bring it. I'm armed. I'm a combat vet and an infantryman. Just bring it. I don't care. But I don't think anybody's coming after me. I'm a small YouTuber. But hey, if that's what happens and they come after me, then well, that would be a bad day for them. All right, let's get started.
She's local. She's coming out to volunteer. She makes the 76th individual in the past 12 days who've come out to volunteer for Veterans on Patrol. There's been like over 200 something people who's come out to support by either dropping supplies, coming to help us out at our camp. But this is what we've managed to do in the past 12 days while everyone's been talking and naysaying. And we have videos, GoPro cam videos, pictures. All right. Now around the TO, this is where they're coming up. We can't do a whole lot here. Okay. But you have a lot of traffic that's coming up through 3 points. It's diverting down this way. Yeah. Now you have a fob set there.
See why he says he can't do anything. You can't just go on an Indian reservation. Like there's a whole Indian reservations work on just different sets of laws than the rest of the United States. In many aspects, they're sovereign countries within the United States themselves. And so that is those limitations. The tribal authority, I'm positive, would not allow them to search anywhere on the reservation.
There, a fob in construction there. There's going to be a fob in the construction there. You have Alpha Base, Charlie Base, Delta Base. It's going to be set up at 3 points. What we're doing is all these pins, all these marks, all these pins, these are all active searches. Some of these are 4 or 5 different searches in grid areas. This is what everyone's been doing while the naysayers are saying no one's doing anything for 12 days. So we want everyone to understand that these guys are busting their ass. Now, we're building a...
That is a huge area, by the way. That is huge. This map does not give it justice, the size and scope of what they've done in 12 days. That is massive. Absolutely massive. This is a huge effort going on down there.
A shield around the city of Tucson, and we're going to divert everything off. The TO and the reservations are in bed with the cartels, and we have no doubt the government's probably involved in some capacity as well, because most of the deaths that we have for children that are crossing are occurring down along their reservation, and I believe it is Cactus Canyons. But we want to give you guys some facts about why we're doing it, and we're operating this way for a reason, because we need to build a perimeter wall to protect our backyard, chase them out of our backyard, and then go and get the women and children that are being held. And they know as well as we do that there's a human trafficking corridor going right up through here into these canyons that are hard to get. Now, let's go through some sources. This is Humane Borders information. 2018, migrant deaths. These are suspected migrant deaths. There's been 406 calls from 2017 to present. 406 calls human trafficking related. There's been 181 human trafficking cases they can make out of those calls. 49 represent minors. 49 are cases with American citizens involved being human trafficked. And some of these cases, according to their stats, are multiple individuals, multiple children. So these are facts coming from Humane Borders.
That's just that corridor.
Yeah.
That is just...
I just lost my hangout, so I just got back on.
Okay. You probably just missed part of the video was all. So...
That's okay, because I already seen it.
So, yeah, that's just cases on this one corridor. There's corridors going up New Mexico and up through Texas, and from there to the entirety of the United States. And the thing is a lot of these kids that get human trafficked, they disappear when they're used up. There was, I meant to show it. We're going to pull it up here, back up here in a minute. But the average lifespan for a minor that is trafficked is 7 years. 7 years. That's the average lifespan. They will, whether it be because they're murdered or diseases, HIV, whatever it may be, you know, these children, once they're trafficked, their chance of making it out and surviving is rather slim.
So then we're going to go over to Border Patrol and see what Border Patrol says. Do you think this is a serious problem down here? So far, in May from last year up to this date, there's been a 1.9 increase in traffic. 435% increase in family units. Now, since last year, there's been a 329% increase in unaccompanied minors being found, where they're just coming up and dropping these kids off in certain areas and hope to God that kid can find its way over to that house or get help and not wander around in the desert lost and die.
So I'm going to pause this. So, you know, there's been a lot of talk about these DACA kids, right? Now, I remember, like I've been paying attention to the news for a very long time, right? The whole reason DACA was put into place because of unaccompanied minors, right? The vast majority, that's who these DACA kids are. They're not kids that were brought here as minors by their parents. I mean, many of them are, yes, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying none of them are, but a huge percentage, the majority of them are unaccompanied minors. They, for whatever reason, came across the border, whether they were trafficked or they just came across it on their own. Many of these are MS-13 gang members.
Many have just, because their parents wanted a better life for them, sent them across.
Right. Right. So now here's an interesting fact, and we'll see this here in just a minute. But if someone has a asylum claim, right, they need to come at a port of entry is where they need to come, not across the desert. All they need to do is get to a port of entry. Now, with that said, even though Mexico is not really a safe country, it does qualify. If someone's coming from Guatemala or Belize or Panama or Colombia, El Salvador, wherever, if they have an asylum, claim, they're supposed to make the claim in the first safe country they arrive in. And in that case, legally, internationally speaking, would be Mexico, not the United States.
Yep. You know, it really irritates me too is that they had a family that was asking for sanctuary, a family, and they divided them up, but yet they let these immigrants in that were not supposed to be here, and they weren't vetted. And these people just asked for asylum because they were being threatened.
Right. Yeah, I saw reported the majority of these asylum claims actually are false. There's nothing real behind it.
This one family was, though. They deserved to have it, and they turned them down and split them up. That ticks me off.
All across our southern border. This is POP's response. Okay? We have been pounding. We are hitting every single corridor they've been operating in, every wash, every pull-off drop, any spots where they're dropping packages from plane. We've been saturating. Now, this is where we're going to run short. We've been doing our job. We don't know what the border teams and everyone else is down there doing. We hope that they're down there doing their job. What we're doing is we need to have more help down in this area. So families, if you're down over here, okay, look at Snyder Hill. That's going to be a key position point. Okay, Snyder Hill, right there. We're going to need, we only have so many trail cams and so many cams set up, but because we're pushing all the traffic this way, we know they're still coming up over here. The CMEX Child Sex Camp will be right about here. CMEX Child Sex Camp, and then you got the reservation part, the areas we couldn't cross. And somewhere over here is supposed to be some cartel badass that's being shielded from the Chio, the tribal reservation. So we're going to continue to pound, hit all these spots. Now, this map does getting our hot mess from all the, we're covered in mud.
Let's take a look and see.
So they're out working,
what they're living in.
Getting this cleared up.
This is what they're dealing with to try to fix this problem.
It's down here right now. She's a local teacher who cares about our children and everything. And anybody wants to come down, you can keep coming down because we're doing exactly what we're saying we're doing, and we're going to keep pounding them. We're going to keep pounding them. They got to keep changing their routes. We're coming up on these guys now, and we're kind of fresh water drugs, fresh loaves of bread. I mean, literally, they got videos where we just missed them by minutes. They saw us coming. They had to drop all their gear and leave. So they know, and all that report. So the cartels and everyone, all they're getting is a lot of information coming back down the pipeline saying BOP's here. And we are. We're pumping, and we're going to keep popping around. We're going to keep pressuring them. We're going to keep doing what we're doing because it's having a tremendous impact. Once our safety net's built, once we have enough teams to where it's safe to go into some of these canyons, these mountains out here where these women and kids are in these caves, once we have adequate security and we can do that operation safely, we're going to go out in there. But in the meantime, we're going to keep pounding. We keep following little clothes, shoes, women's clothing and stuff. I mean, so we're right on the right corridor. We've isolated. There's about 13 property owner ranchers down here that, from all the information we have, just not even from local neighbors, from us going out around there to see itself, they're allowing migrants to come in and they're aiding them and they're setting out water for them and running hoses down to areas where they're stashing themselves down along the washes on their property. So they're going to have a mutiny of a lot of ranchers right now because we're screwing up their money. We're screwing up the ones that sold out to the cartel, and they're doing everything they can to say BOP's a sham and we're not doing anything. Yeah, we are. You know what? And the more we go out every day, you got all the videos. I mean, I'm not the only one recording, okay? And a lot of the stuff that we go out on, I'm sorry, you're not getting a live video. But we're hammering them, and we can pull videos and pictures from every area we found, and we're hitting these corridors. And now we're right on them. Now we're coming up onto them, and they're literally camping out. So we're pushing, and as we squeeze out, the human trafficking corridors are going to be more isolated and exposed because we're not there yet. We're not there into the canyons. So they are being pushed out that way. We do need more people that want to come out. You can come out anytime. This is a 24/7, 365 operation.
I'm going to pause it there because I'm going to bring up something that I think needs to be shown. And so they need people. They need bodies. They need supplies. But what I'm going to show you here is don't show up being this guy.
Name again?
Yeah.
Austin. Well, we'll figure that out. Okay. So now
this is a kid that showed up.
No, definitely. You bet your ass I'm about to. So, anyways, go ahead and I don't even need to repeat it. So I've got some of my teams. We took an individual out to go search and rescue, and he keeps talking about trying to find ways to hype this up and to make gunshots go off and then end the video. So everyone's looking and everyone's coming around here. So Austin. Do you think it's a good idea for people to start firing gunshots and end the video in the middle of a search and rescue to put people in a panic? Do you think that's a good idea? You don't have no idea what you're talking about. So your search and rescue team's lying. You're not trying to come down here and create some scene to get more people paying attention. Like, God's got this, so I don't need you to come down here.
I'm trying to do
Our team. So this guy is Austin. You guys see this guy? You've been trespassed. See, leave you. Bye. Go. Get off the property. Get in your car. Go. You're not allowed to come back to our mission. We're not going to have any of this shit. We're not going to have anyone coming up.
Yeah,
and anyone else, if you're coming down here and you're saying stupid shit, understand that those of us have been down here in this area for years. Those of us have been part of this ministry for years.
So, what was that, Kelly?
I said, do you see how that smart butt acted?
Yeah.
That kid needed his butt kicked. I'm sorry to say, this right here really irritates me. I am fired up today, so please.
Yeah, there's no.
With me.
If anybody watching this and you've got the time and you've got the ability and you decide to go down and help, don't be that guy, right? There's no reason to hype that up, hype what's going on down there up anymore.
Back it up
like
to that
it's
guy's picture.
like
Back it up just slightly to his picture again, just to show that kid. That kid needs to be shown, so he's seen on YouTube.
I think he said his name was Austin. Yeah. Don't.
He just needs to be seen.
Yeah. Don't be that kid. Don't be that kid. What was he? What was he thinking?
Trying to get his 15 minutes of fame.
Well, he got it, but not what he wanted.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna steer this back towards the bigger picture. So now I did say I was going to pull up. So let me see if I can find that stat where it had here it is. The average victim age is 11 to 14. Approximately 80% are women and children bought, sold, and imprisoned in the underground sex service industry. Average lifespan of a victim is reported to be 7 years. Found dead from attack, abuse, HIV, and other STDs, malnutrition, overdose, or suicide. 7 years.
So if you imagine an 11 up to a 14-year-old, those children haven't even had a chance to live their lives. They can't be children. They can't turn into teenagers.
Says the largest group of at-risk children are runaways, thrown away, or homeless American children who use survival to acquire food, shelter, clothing, and other things needed to survive. Approximately 1.3 million runaway and homeless youth live on America's streets every day. 5,000 die each year. And it says it would not be surprising to learn that the number of children trafficked in the United States is actually much higher than 300,000.
Yep.
Their children are targeted by traffickers because they are deemed easier to manipulate than adults. More money can be earned by younger girls and boys exploited in sexual exploitation, especially virgins. Prepubescent girls are reported to be injected with hormones to bring on puberty. Younger girls are expected to have a greater earning potential and as such are in greater demand.
That's sick.
And here it talks about the physical and mental consequences of trafficking for victims. I will get angry, I think, if we go over this.
Yeah, you do not want to. I voiced my opinion when I talked to you before we went live. I was hot about a lot of that. We don't need to go over that. Let people read it for themselves so that they can deal with it.
So we're going to go over to the Tuck right now. We're going to watch, I believe this was from tonight, I believe. So here he's talking about the border crisis. What we're talking about, this human trafficking, is intricately linked to the border crisis. Now, that doesn't mean that if we secure our border that human trafficking stops, right? We've already established, in fact, that we have this problem with American children being trafficked. In fact, if we stop the border, what's going on at the border, it would increase the demand for American children. However, we have to secure our border for this reason and for many others. We need to stop the incentives that are in place that brings them across this border, across our border into the United States. But we also need to have a strong, concerted effort to root these people out and to rescue these children. And you know what? I mean, you could also look at this like prohibition, right? So there's a demand for it, and the demand's not going to go away until we can heal the hearts of Americans. Americans today are so depraved, I used the wrong word, are so depraved, right? They're so perverse. Americans are many Americans, we're just so obsessed as Americans with sex and instant gratification to the point where we will turn a blind eye to those being forced into sexual slavery, for those sick individuals for whatever, their 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes, who knows, whatever, of their personal pleasure, and with no thought of the horrors that are being inflicted on these children and women. We have an epidemic of men who are addicted to pornography. There was a figure I saw years ago, I'd say probably 5-6 years ago, and it's probably just as bad, if not worse today, that 70% of Christian men are addicted to pornography. 70%.
Yep.
Pornography in the United States is a billion-dollar industry, right? I mean, the porn industry blew up with the internet, right? And before that, there was VHS, the VHS tapes. If you remember, like when the porn industry latched on to VHS tapes when that first became a thing, because now they had a real way to like really get their material out there. And I mean, really before that, really what you had, you know, some pornography you could get, but the vast majority of it was like
that was basically through magazines like House or
yeah, it was magazines,
Playboy and stuff like that.
And then with the internet, I mean, it was slow at first because connection was so slow you couldn't really have videos, right? And it was just pictures. And then, but once broadband hit, man, it was like bam, and now you got websites like you know, these streaming and tube whatever they're called. Sites where, I mean, you can just go there and just watch free porn all day long, every day. I mean, there's nothing stopping you. You can watch porn all day and not spend a dime other than what you pay for your internet connection, you know? And and two things there. One, the United States is at our lowest birth rate ever, even though we have the largest population we've ever had. And the reason is also has been reported, millennials are having a record low amount of actual sex, like consensual sex with other people. Instead, they go home and they watch porn. You know, the whole
gratification, and the Bible says, "Do not throw your seed freely."
I mean, the breakdown of society is such now. The breakdown of society is such now that people don't know how to interact anymore because of social media, right? And so men don't know, these young millennial men don't know how to approach women. And these women also don't want to be approached. Many of them don't want to be approached by men. They want to meet online where they can filter them and they think it's safe. But what this has led to is that 80% of these women are breeding with only 20% of men. And marriage is also at an all-time low, especially among millennials. And marriage has just been rejected. I mean,
can I interject something here real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to give you an example. My son has a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my husband, he doesn't, you know, he just kind of likes some of the stuff that he's got on there. We had a young lady that contacted him through Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't live very far away from us, probably about 45 minutes away. This girl literally hit up my son. Even though my son said, "My heart is for the Lord, I am looking for a Christian woman,"
mm-hmm.
had the nerve to say, "I am laying in bed naked." My son automatically deleted her.
Yeah.
Because that's all they want. That's the only way they can communicate is through technology. They can't talk to somebody face to face and court and have that. I mean, all my children courted.
So Pushdown says, I'm going to read some comments here. He says, porn should be outlawed, in my opinion. Nothing good comes out of it. If anyone knows something good that comes out of it, tell what it is. No, nothing good comes from porn. I agree. Pornography is disgusting. And I agree.
It's degrading.
It is. And it is degrading. And women, young, naive women that get into the porn industry afterwards, there's nothing left for them. I mean, seriously, they're not going to be able to find employment, and they may not be able to find a good partner.
No, because they don't know what they've got, and there's so many out there. There's one that I've watched once in a while. I'm not saying I watch porn. She worked in the porn industry. She's on YouTube, and she's in California. And this woman has nothing but her YouTube channel, which I don't understand why YouTube will leave stuff up like this, that she sits there and shows her body in a way that should not be shown and spoke of. And they sit there and they don't censor that, but yet they'll sit there and they'll censor you for using 2 channels that you actually said you had the Fair Act.
Yeah.
But yet they don't go after the porn industry.
Devona says everyone just needs to go on a 4-day or more fast and just reset. I absolutely agree.
I need that bad.
Scotty Good says it's impossible to find a Christian woman. Well, it's not impossible to find a Christian woman. It's impossible to find a single available Christian woman, at least around here. If they're available around here, if they're available women, to me, they tend to be rotten pickles. They're not the kind of woman I would even consider. Like, seriously, I've went on so many dates and it's just rotten pickle after rotten pickle, I'm telling you. There was one woman, she claimed to be a Christian. She was not. She was just telling me what she thought I wanted to hear.
And that's what they do in this day and age now. I mean, and it's sad to see how young women degrade themselves. They don't appreciate their body.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel like they are somebody unless they do something with men.
Parents and society are not teaching women the value of their virtue anymore.
Exactly.
And they're told the exact opposite. All right, we're actually gonna watch the Tuck now. Okay, let's watch the Tuck. He's gonna talk about the border crisis. So let's watch this. Again, this is covered under fair use.
The spectacle of illegal immigrants separated from their children at the border has ceased to be a news story in any traditional sense of the term. It is now an event, a kind of competition in which elites vie to see who can reach greater heights of rhetorical excess and self-righteous posturing. It is performance art, really. Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi and even Hillary Clinton took an early lead in the contest by bypassing public policy questions entirely and moving straight to theology. Here are part of their sermons. Watch.
The hypocrisy of all people of faith in our country not to clamor for this, for what the administration is doing to end.
Those who selectively use the Bible to justify this cruelty are ignoring a central tenet of Christianity. Jesus said, "Suffer the little children unto me." He did not say, "Let the children suffer."
Somebody put a sock in that hag's mouth, okay? The Bible also tells you not to lie and cheat and steal. If anyone is selectively using the Bible, it is Hillary Clinton, right? And Nancy Pelosi, I've got a video out. Go back and watch it, where she had previously made a comment recently about all humans have a spark of divinity. And I exposed that for what it is. Right, that directly comes from witchcraft and the New Age movement. She unwittingly, and she's a nitwit, but she unwittingly exposed herself as, the very least, as a New Ager. She's evil. She is. She's into witchcraft. I'm telling you, I'm convinced she's into witchcraft. And Hillary Clinton herself.
I want to say something here.
Is evil.
Stevie Crockett Outdoors said something about it being drug sex in the city or in the 60s that started this. Thing is it went back to biblical times.
Well,
where they clear back into the biblical times that they actually.
Well, no, he's got a point, but it was the sexual revolution is what it was. So it was the introduction of the birth control pill, right, which allowed women then to be sexually promiscuous, which then allowed for the free love of the 60s, which led to lots of unwanted pregnancies, because the birth control pill is only reliable if you take it properly. And most people just don't, right? Look, whenever I've been on medication, I don't know if I've ever taken it the same as every day at the same time of the day, right? And probably most people would have a hard time with that, right? And then so now there's a demand for what? Abortion. Enter Roe versus Wade.
Exactly. But
so the same people who support third-term post-viability abortion for purposes of sex selection are now lecturing you about God and sin and the holiness of children. Feel chastened? But wait, there's more. So much more. On Facebook, Senator Ben Sasse called the administration's policy wicked, as in immoral and devilish. Former First Lady Laura Bush likened it to the internment of the Japanese during World War II, a moral stain upon this nation. Former CIA Director Michael Hayden went all the way. He tweeted out a picture of Auschwitz, a death camp, and compared the U.S. government to the Nazis. After sobering up, Hayden walked that back a little bit on television, but not much.
So now here's the thing. Trump, this isn't Trump's policy. This is Bill Clinton's policy to separate these children, right? Laura Bush, her husband had 8 years to fix it. He didn't. Barack Obama had 8 years to fix it. He didn't. This has been going on for 20 years. But suddenly now it's a problem, a little over 500 days into Trump's presidency, and he's trying to fix it. And guess what? The Democrats are just obstructing. They have no intention of fixing any of this. None of it. In fact, they want to go the opposite direction. We'll see.
Chris Holman from
Hey, Chris.
Yeah?
I want to give you some. My son came down and said that, and he's 25 years old. They're blocking your video from his Xbox.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Watch. I know we're not Nazi Germany, all right? But there is a commonality there. I've lived in Germany for...
That's, I thought that I'm looking at how many people I have watching on this video versus the previous live streams we've done on this. And, I'm looking, I've got eight people watching, just dropped from 9 to 8. I'm not actually surprised at all that it's being blocked. Not surprised. Interesting. Censorship.
Yep. I just wanted to give you that information so it's out there live.
Well, let's keep going.
3 years, a more civilized people you cannot find.
But General,
and so I was trying to point out we need to be careful not to move in that direction.
oh, we could go on. There is so much more just like that. The rich and powerful reminding you just how virtuous they are. You think these people really care about family separation? If they did, they'd be worried about the collapse of the American family, which is measurable and real, but they're not worried about that. In fact, they welcome that collapse because strong families are an impediment to their political power. That's why they're always lecturing you about the patriarchy and the evil of the nuclear family. Millions and millions of American kids are growing up with one parent at home, families separated thanks to their policies, and that's fine with them. Many of those kids, by the way, have a parent behind bars. It's not just illegal immigrants who are separated from their children. The majority of American citizens in prison have minor kids they've left behind. Their families have been separated by force by our justice system because they committed a crime. So just in that way, these kids are just like the kids you've been watching on television today. The difference, of course, is they're Americans. So nobody is spending $35,000 a year apiece to make sure they're okay. Democratic politicians and cable news anchors don't visit their foster homes to highlight their plight. They're ignored. This is one of those moments that tells you everything about our ruling class. They care far more about foreigners than about their own people. You probably suspected that already. The other thing you may have noticed is that they're not especially interested in solutions to anything. They're great at yelling and at preening, not so good at fixing and building. We could strengthen our borders to keep illegals out. We could fund more immigration courts to process those who sneak through anyway. We could even build more housing facilities at the border, holding facilities, to allow families to stay together while their asylum claims are processed. But the left is not interested in any of that. Their only solution is immediate amnesty for anyone who crosses our borders with a minor in tow. And of course, that's the same as no borders at all. Not to
oh, the horror. Look how
child smuggling.
They're eating better here than they probably ever have in their entire life.
No matter what they tell you, this is not about helping children. A lot of people yelling at you on TV don't even have children, so don't for a second let them take the moral high ground. Their goal is to change your country forever, and they're succeeding, by the way.
We just saw the statistic. We showed the statistic how many homeless children there are in the United States. Homeless children, American children, homeless. They've got warm beds, 3 hots and a cot. They've got teachers. Until we fix our homeless problem in this country, look, I have no sympathy. They're not even supposed to be in this country. You know, Ann Coulter had said, I'm not about separating children from their parents. I'm about separating them from our country. I have to agree.
The way. Yeah. Since 2014, to name one example among many, at least 500,000 Central Americans who came here illegally have been released back inside our borders. Did anyone vote for that? And more to the point, who's going to pay for that? Not the people you've been watching on television today. Their kids go to private school if they have them. Their neighborhoods look exactly like they did in 1960. No demographic change at all, just like they like it. There's no cost to them. The cost is entirely on.
So, exit full screen there. So that was that. That was Tucker. See if I had anything else. Here's, oh, yeah, I wanted to cover this and some commentary. This is from the 5. Now, listen, I've mentioned this before, that in my opinion, Fox News is controlled opposition for the left, as far as the station goes. But there are some gems. There are some people on there, like Tucker Carlson, that speak truth. There are some. We're going to watch this here.
Now, Donna Brazil, welcome to the 5.
Yes.
I know.
I've been waiting. I don't know why you didn't know my number.
Donna Brazil.
I'm sorry, I must have lost it.
Ah, goodness.
So, I know you've been wanting to talk about Decide Geoforce.
Why isn't she in prison?
We've been watching that for hours, but we're going to actually talk about the immigration situation. Now,
That's a good.
Secretary Nielsen said there are laws on the books that have encouraged this. There's a 2008 Child Trafficking law that's being abused. There's the Flores deal, which was a Clinton administration policy. You can't detain minors for more than 20 days. And then you have the asylum laws being abused. I mean, doesn't the past administrations bear some responsibility for this?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that you have these 2 laws on the books, the 1997 law and the 2008 law. The difference is that this is a change in policy, a change in enforcement of the law. Everyone who comes over our border now is treated as a criminal.
Because they are
subject to prosecution.
Correct.
And so while the 97 law said that you have 20 days to deal with these unaccompanied minors, this is a policy change that says we're going to separate these children from the parents who are going to face criminal prosecution.
Right.
So I think the Trump administration needs to work with Congress. Perhaps they'll do it with this immigration debate that they will have tomorrow, which, by the way, is a one-sided debate. I don't know how you're going to put together a solution when you don't have all of the what I call main ingredients. But for now, there's no federal law that says that you must separate children from their families. That's the loophole.
Well, one of the loopholes is because you don't want the children to be potentially abused, and you don't know, Kimberly, whether or not the children are actually related to the adult that's bringing them across the border, because the secretary said there's been over a 300% increase of fraudulent families.
314%.
Exactly, crossing the southern border.
Yeah, I think that's really an alarming number when you hear that. And you think about that's really just fraught with problems in terms of risk.
Here's an interesting fact. Kimberly Garafola, right there, her. She's currently dating, is it Don Jr. right now? Just think about that. She's definitely biased, but here we go.
Risk to children and being in danger. Very much a concern in terms of human trafficking. Obviously, everybody cares about, and obviously, people don't want families separated from their children. But you have an obligation to determine the true identity of the individual who's coming over. Just because an adult is accompanying with a minor, you can't make the assumption that they are in fact related, because quite the contrary, the evidence suggests otherwise. So that would irresponsible and reckless in a matter of public safety and endangerment to a child. So, this is a very difficult issue. I think the legislature does need to act on it expeditiously. It's in everyone's best interest to do so and work cooperatively with the president, because obviously now the good news is that the issue is getting a lot of, attention and focus and light on it so that we can do something about it, right? Yeah. I mean, this is a country of immigrants, but nevertheless, we've got to ensure the safety of people here, those crossing, etc., and observe the laws on the books.
And how do you think the White House, Dana, is handling this? I wouldn't call it a crisis, but it's reaching a boiling point across the country.
Definitely. Well, I think it was very smart to have the principal there today at the scene. It took her a while to get back, and I understand they had a meeting at 3 o'clock with the president. And it's tense within the White House because they realize they have a problem. One thing I was surprised about is that Kirstjen Nielsen, she had excellent facts that they didn't recognize just even a week ago as we started to see this bubbling up that they needed to get in front of it. So now you have all of these photographs, some released from DHS, some from
That's Dana Perino. There was in a previous live stream, we had there was a clip with her in it. She worked for the Bush administration.
From HHS, some from reporters that have been there, some from members of Congress have been there. And the photographs drive a lot of things. Do you remember when the little boy was killed on the crossing, the migrant boy, and he washed up on and he washed up on the coast of Turkey. Then all of a sudden, we can't have this. And so it's not that it wasn't happening to a lot of children. It's just that photographs make a big difference. Kirstjen Nielsen was asked, what about these photographs? And she said, I haven't seen them. I think that her staff owes it to her to make sure that she sees them so that she's aware of what everybody out there is seeing and why there's all of this reaction. Maybe some of it, a lot of it based on misreporting. But you can also believe your own eyes. And I don't think it's fair necessarily to say that children are being held in cages. But if you look at the photograph, there are chain link partitions. So they're being covered with silver Mylar blankets. And then you hear this ProPublica, the audio secretly recorded, maybe inappropriate, but the audio is going to pull at heartstrings tonight. And so, yes, I think that tomorrow when the president goes to the Congress, he's going to say, I am going to support these immigration bills. I want you to pass them. I hope that it's successful. I'm skeptical in a way, partly because I heard today that one of the people in leadership thinks it has a 10% chance of passing the House, and that a bill very similar, recently held in the Senate, only got 40 votes. So I think they're going to have to either reverse this policy or figure out another way to deal with it while they're trying to do something with Congress, because now you have a situation where Congress might not be able to pass anything.
Yeah, Greg, what do you think? Do you think the president...
So she brings up an interesting point. I mean, so you tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we've got these obstructionists in Washington, right? Both Democrats and some Republicans that are obstructing essentially securing our border and any enforcement of our immigration laws. How do you see it? Kellie?
Right now, I'm just right now. I'm frustrated.
I mean, until we fix this,
we can't. I mean, because in the media. I mean, look at them. They're there. They're out there. Mm-hmm. We are little, but you know what? As we come together as Christians, we are big. We can take back this land. We can save our children and the women that are out there being abused. I'm just...
Yeah, so the problems we're having with trying to get immigration reform, trying to secure our borders, all of that, it is intricately tied to this human trafficking and sex trafficking in this country. It's intricately tied to that. Many of these female illegal aliens coming across this country, if they can't pay the cartels, they end up in brothels in Texas.
Exactly.
I believe that was everything I had pulled together.
Yeah, you needed to show the United States picture.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. So, where are you? You're not on here. Where is you?
I just should be up at the top.
Here we go. So this is, well, tell our viewers what we're looking at.
Okay, this picture right here shows you where sex trafficking is occurring. Look at how far it's gone up. It's gone into Canada. Look at how heavy it is in Florida. Look at how heavy it is in California.
Right.
Look at Texas, the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
Look at the whole East Coast.
Right.
They have means. And, oh, I talked to Chris about this earlier, and it just really, I don't want to really get into what I had talked about, that I'm really, really irritated because, I mean, if you really look at what I'm going to say it anyway, what the Clintons and what the Bushes and what Obama did, I mean, they put a runway in so that they could bring drugs in. They didn't only bring drugs in, and the money didn't go over there just to other countries to help them out. There's children that are being brought from other countries clear over to this area, and they are making their way up in there. And I mean, if I sit there and I look at the state that my brothers and sisters are in, and the state that I live in, the state of California, this really, really irks me. I mean, you look at Florida.
Yeah.
This sex trafficking, these red hot spots.
You see all up here on the eastern seaboard. Now this right here, that's about where I'm at. That's about the Louisville area. This is Cincinnati. This is Chicago. San Diego. This is San Diego and LA. This is San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, all across Texas. See Denver. Yeah. South, southern U.S.
Just look at that map and look at the cities and the millions of people that live in those states, in those cities.
There was just recently a big bust down in Atlanta, like a huge.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that, and I was hoping you were going to bring that up.
So I didn't. Let me pull it up. So it looks like 60 arrested in Georgia in FBI-led child sex trafficking operation. 120 suspected traffickers were arrested and 84 minors were recovered in the 11th run of Operation Cross Country from Thursday through Sunday. This was, hold on, that's a different one. That's from October 2017. That's not the one I'm talking about.
But that's still showing.
This is it. I mean, but that is a previous bust. Here it is. 149 missing or exploited children located in 25 days in Atlanta. This is from June 6th. Nearly 40 local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies were led in the effort by the FBI, Metro Atlanta Child Exploitation Task Force. More than 4,300 sex offenders were registered in Metro Atlanta as of March. So here are the results. 149 missing or exploited children ages 3 to 17. 3! Some as young as 3 were identified and or located. 158 judicial actions such as arrest, citation, indictments, or sentencings. 1,674 total law enforcement contacts such as compliance checks, law enforcement operations, or warrants.
The role
Ranking FBI agents in Atlanta is being remembered for how bravely he fought against crime and cancer. New at 6, Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie.
That is not related. My apologies.
His death has been linked to his work at the World Trade.
My apologies. That was not related. There's efforts.
A list of people that we haven't even shown names and pictures of people that are involved in the deep dark state that are lost.
Right.
They've been killed. They've somehow died of some circumstance that I actually have, which is going to be in another video. That's really going to step into some deep dark stuff. But I'm telling you right now, these children, I mean, we need to stand together and we need to pray. As a nation, we need to stand together.
We do. We do. So I'm going to add many of these
Yep.
links to the description. Yeah, I'm gonna add them. I'm going to add these links in the description after the live stream. So I think we're pretty much done for the night here. So we're gonna end this here in just a moment. So I hope that by watching this live stream here, those that have watched it, those that where it hasn't been blocked, that this opens your eyes to the scope of what this child sex trafficking is, how it is related to what the battle in Washington over securing our borders, and the ramifications of the obstruction being done by the Democrats, and what they risk here losing if Trump is successful in securing our borders, right? Ending illegal immigration. They not only lose the potential voters, they are, I believe, and there is some strong evidence, and we'll get into that in another stream. There is a tie to those in the Democratic Party, and I believe even in the Republican Party as well.
I agree with
that are profiting.
They got to say that we do need to, as a nation, to repent, because as a nation, we have the most blood on our hands.
Yes. Yes, Mass Faith 3 says, as a nation, we need to repent. These kinds of things can't happen in a righteous nation, at least not on this scale. She's absolutely right. Our nation has forsaken and mocked God on a national scale. There is a concerted effort to attack and undermine Christianity and the American family.
That's right.
Our nation is wicked to its core. Now, there is an awakening taking place right now. I know this. I see it. There is an awakening. We are part of this awakening. All of us here, Kelly and myself, those that are watching this, there is an awakening happening in this country. The blinders are off. now. We see the elites for what they are. They are perverse. They are disgusting people. They are evil people. And they will sell you out and your children for their financial benefit, for their sexual gratifications. The same people that lecture us on morality are the most degraded human beings on this planet. They live in their ivory towers and lecture to us on morality, on their perverse version of what morality is. All the while, they are assaulting women. They are raping women. They are enslaving children.
Both male and female. This is just not female. This is male and female.
It is male and female. It is. It is time that we, as righteous Christians, followers of Christ, that we fall on our knees and pray for our country. We pray for our children. We pray for our future and for the families in this country that are suffering. This is a problem that is not getting nearly enough attention, though it is beginning to get attention. This needs to be on every
news
program.
network, every channel, every person's mouth that walks this country, walks this earth, period. They need to be talking about it. If they have Christ in their heart, they need to be spreading the word.
They do.
And protecting these children.
Yes. Yes, as I was getting ready to say, on these 24-hour news networks, every hour segment, they need to be addressing this. This is a major issue. They're only addressing one part of it, which is the illegal immigration, but they're not addressing the child trafficking, or very little of it, and the scope of it. It is absolutely horrific. These people need to be held accountable. They need to be publicly and viciously executed for all to see. You, excuse me, I don't know what's up with me today. If you harm a child,
my voice is raspy and I've been coughing.
If you harm a child in this most vile of way, the penalties should be so horrific, that no one dare do it again. We need to put God back in schools, fathers back in homes. We need to put Jesus back in the forefront of our society, in our hearts. We need to bring our nation back to Christ. And we are moving in that direction. We are. I believe that we are. Right now, there's an awakening in this country. But there is a concerted opposition to all of this, because it threatens their order. And they have convinced their constituents that their opposition is fighting against tyranny and evil. No, it is not. What is being done today is to stop these horrors. If we secure our borders and if we end the incentives, this will stop to these immigrant women and children. This will stop. If we focus our time and effort in fixing our culture and our society, and focus our law enforcement in a precise manner to root out these people, we can put an end to the suffering of hundreds of thousands of children every year. Millions of children have been victimized in such a way in the last 20 years. Millions more before. Human trafficking has now surpassed drug smuggling and gun smuggling. We need to pray collectively.
Yes, the nation.
I've said this many, many times, that to present a problem without a solution is whining. And I believe that I have presented a solution, but many others are saying the exact same thing that I am saying now. What I'm going to do now is ask all of you watching to take a moment and pray with me. I'm going to pray with you right here as we end this. Heavenly Father, we come before you today. We praise you for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that you have yet to do in our lives. We ask you to forgive us of our transgressions and forgive us for what we have allowed to happen in this world. We pray that your will be done in our lives, individually and collectively. And we pray that you give us the strength and the guidance to end this evil. We praise you again for all that you do, all that you provide for us in our lives. Be with us tonight as those watching, they kiss their children goodnight and tuck them in, as they say goodnight to their spouse, or as they head off to work. We pray that you be with them, guide them, keep them safe, protect the children of this world, Lord, and give us the strength to be your instruments. Use us, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time out of your night to be with us here. Share this video and the other streams that we have done.
On every social media platform that you have.
Remember that God is with you. God is with us. Spoiler alert, we win in the end.
Amen.
But between now and then, we have a fight before us. It's not going to be easy. There will be persecutions. There will be struggles. But remember that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. We will overcome. We will win in the end. We will put an end to this. God is with us. Let him guide us. Everyone, God is love. God bless.
God bless you all.